Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of XB2+1, which I believe is XB2+1 episode 29, I think. It would have been 30, but I didn't count the Towerborn episode as XB2+1, but, because I kind of feel like, I don't know if you feel this way, Rand, but I kind of feel like XB2+1 is more about community and creators and things like that. So like I wanna when I do XB2+1, it's almost like Xbox 3. Maybe we should call it that instead. As we sit here and for that brief window in time, the guest is part of the family and always part of the XB2 universe. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Actually.
you're just rambling,
I'm just
bro.
I'm just fucking rambling now. But anyways, I'm here with my co-host, with the co-most, the man with the million ducks in a row. It's Randall
Mm.
Thor 19. How are you doing, Rand?
I mean, I'm doing pretty good. Are you sure that the audio's working for everybody? Because usually you have a problem with this.
Yeah, the audio seems to be good. Let me know in the chat if the audio levels are a bit off, but audio seems to be okay, I think. I'm double checking
All
that
right.
the gameplay
So
video.
actually, everything's going good the very first time. This is very rare for you. This is a W for Jez.
This is a very rare,
This
it's
is
a
a
very
W.
rare W. It is
W.
indeed a W.
We have an esteemed guest who hasn't been on. Well, sometimes he'll come on main Xbox 2 when you aren't available. You know, he's usually my go-to, being like, "Hey, Jez ain't gonna be there. I need you on Friday." But he hasn't been on Xbox 2+1 since the very beginning. He was like second guest. And we were gonna do an ultimate today, but then Jez was like, you know what? I want to do Xbox 2+1 with Cognito.
Yeah,
So we put in the
yeah.
call, and Lord Cognito answered the bell, and he's here.
Yo, gentlemen, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, man. I'm glad I got the call. I'm glad you said that accurately, Rand. It's
This is
funny
true.
because I felt like, man, I have not potted with Jazz.
Mm.
I feel like it's been like more than 6 months, Jazz. And I'm
It's been a
like,
while.
I miss Jazz. Because normally when I get the red call, it's like, yo, Jazz is on vacation. So it's like, sub me and coach. All right, I got you. I'll pull up and we usually do our 1-2, and it's always fun to do Xbox 2. But yeah, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm glad to get the call. Xbox 2+1. A lot of stuff to talk about. I'm excited. And yeah, man, with the bros. This is good, man. Y'all extended family, the IOP and the Fighting Duke. So this is nothing. You know what I mean? It's just going to work with the homies, having fun.
Yeah. And even though there are no cameras this episode, Cog is wearing his outfit from Sunday. Just nobody can see it, right?
What
Yeah,
were you wearing
about
on
that.
Sunday?
Oh, good.
King was dressed
So,
up as a hot
mhm.
dog.
A glizzy, as the kids call it.
Glizzy, yes.
A hot dog? Why?
Yeah.
I need the backstory. Why were we a hot dog?
So we at the iLords podcast have a Road to Tokyo initiative. The dream has always been in Tokyo. We've put it off. We put it off. Solve, our most responsible lord, is always like, look, the Iron Bank does not call for this. You can do all these other things, all these other conventions. So this was the year, like the stars aligned, and we were like, okay, we could do it this year, but let's try to get some, fundraising just to get us over the hump. Because if you guys don't know, man, these flights are expensive. Yeah, I've never been to Tokyo before. So anyway, the community's been absolutely awesome. Shout out to Attic for coming up with these challenges. So basically what happens is we say, okay, Road to Tokyo, you guys can contribute how you want, but you guys get to, as the audience, the realm, they get what they want. So first they were like physical challenges, like do stuff on a treadmill or do squats or whatever. Okay, fine. Then they were like, okay, you now have to do cosplay. So like the realm would vote, okay, what suits everyone's gonna work. So everyone knows King's aversion to glizzies and hot dogs. So that was a no-brainer. They were like, we want King of the hot dogs. So then the second one was Addict, and I think because of his anime love, they were like, "We want him in a Sailor Moon." So that won the vote 1 week. And then
Oh
for
man,
me,
how did I miss this?
bro, tune into just look at ILP this last Sunday's the live stream. You're gonna die laughing. And then for me, they were like, "We gonna embarrass Kyle. We know he don't play Nintendo like that." So they found a King Koopa suit which has a collar and a tail.
Oh
And
my
they were like, "We
god.
brother, I'm in a King Cooper full suit for the whole podcast." So we did our camera reveals. The realm absolutely loved it. The donations are crazy. We have literally 80% of our goal already. With still a couple of months left before Tokyo. The community's awesome. So it's whatever they want, they get. They love it. They love it. I've been memed forever. So every month there's a new challenge. So that was the last challenge that we did this month.
That's super awesome. I need to go and watch that. But indeed, guys, if you want to check out Iron Lord's podcast, they are on the YouTubes, they're on the Twitters, links in the description and all that good stuff. And you get to see Cognito in a dressed as a glizzy.
Well,
What do
King
you?
is I'm King Cooper. They want me to do
Oh, you were
preachers, preachers,
Cooper.
preachers. Yeah, I
King
was Cooper,
King was a
the hot
glizzy.
dog. Yeah.
Why is it called a glizzy?
So this is what's happened. This is why. See, they pick stuff that they know we couldn't stand. All of us have our thing. So King's
No,
thing
I
is,
mean the slang. Why is it called a glizzy? Or is that
I
you
have no
explaining?
idea. I have no idea. Their whole thing is, all of a sudden, hot dogs have become unappealing because of its phallic nature. Let's just say design.
Oh my god.
So the kids have now. I feel bad for the hot dog industry. Like, remember, Rand, we grew up like Nathan's,
Yeah.
Frank's, and hot dogs was just a normal thing. But now the kids have like demonized it. Ooh, you're eating a glizzy. Like that's the new thing. So King has adopted this new mentality. So we know it bothers him to eat a hot dog. So
Oh
Attic, like, we'll
man.
go, bro, it's so funny. Attic will eat hot dogs and be like, look, King, I'm having a glizzy. And it doesn't bother him. But to King, he's like, I'd never do that. And so once the realm caught on his disgust, that it won by a unanimous vote. King is going to be a glizzy in a hot dog suit. That's his challenge for this month. It was hilarious, bro.
Oh man. That trend would never fly in Germany, man. You could never demonize Frankfurter in Germany. But anyways,
Facts, exactly. Good
I,
point.
oh man, now I'm like kind of jonesing for a German glizzy, a Germizzy. I don't know I don't know what
Bro,
the
I made
German.
it bad, Jazz. I made it bad for him too. I'm teasing him. I'm like, yeah, we like you between them two buns. Yeah, where's the sauce
Ooh,
at?
ooh.
Yeah. Oh, bro,
Here
I'm
we go.
throwing this. And then they're teasing me because King Cooper has a collar on. They like, yeah, collared, hashtag collared bro. It was so messy. With all of us teasing each other because of disgust of the things we have to do. And Attic in a Sailor Moon suit with a skirt, and they made him do the pole. It's out of control. Wait till
You might have
timestamps in the description.
you might have awoken something in Lord Attic. In fact, I think he probably had that suit already. It's just the first time he's worn it in public. Oh,
He did
sorry,
look
Attic.
quite good, then.
Yeah,
Shut up,
I
Attic.
don't know. I need to go and check that out.
Please
But
do.
yes, the things we do for content, right? Maybe like
Mhm.
when me and Rand finally get on camera someday, we
Yeah.
can dress up as we can make Rand dress up
I
as a
mean, I mean,
Pokemon or something.
if you have to, oh yeah, that'd be the thing. Like, what do I hate that people would make me dress up in? And then that's the first thing that came to mind. Well, dress up as Pikachu or
Yeah,
Yeah.
something. You
Yeah.
know?
Definitely some Pokemon, some Nintendo energy. Me and you share that. Like they come for us.
Yeah. I don't know what we'd have to have Jazz dress up as. Maybe
Let me
what does Jazz
see.
hate? I see. I
Jazz
don't know. Is
Jazz
there
hates
something?
Destiny. Jazz hates Destiny.
Yeah, but he doesn't
Um,
like loathe Destiny though.
no,
So I
he
mean,
hates
it's
Destiny.
like
He hates Destiny. I listen to you. I
maybe
I
got
don't
something
know, man.
Nintendo related. Maybe if there was an outfit that basically said "I don't beat games." Maybe that'd be something or something. You know what I mean? Like, I
See?
don't
I
know.
don't know.
All you gotta
I'm
come up with a top 3 for the community.
Yeah, true that. I'm
Mhm.
rapidly hurtling towards the end of Expedition 33 at the moment, though. So
Let's
it's
talk about it. Let's talk
let's
about
talk
it.
about it. Have
Mhm.
you been playing Expedition 33, Card?
Yes, I just started. Probably got about 8 to 10 hours in it.
Taking the industry by storm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I was sitting there thinking about Expedition 33 last night when I was like lying down. And I was thinking like this is the first game I've played in a really long time. A really long time where it's actually just been like, man, I can't wait to get back and play more Expedition 33. I think
Mhm.
I mean, part of it is because a lot of the games that I do enjoy, I'm also reviewing for work. I didn't review this for work; someone else did. So, like, this is like one of I suppose, the rare occasions where a game has come through that's really good, and for me, that I'm not actually playing for a review or something of that nature, or content or something like that, right? So,
Hmm.
like, this is something I've been playing just for me, and I'm pretty sure there'd probably other games on that list which would be just for me if I hadn't been doing it for work. Elden Ring would have been one of them. Elden Ring DLC, I suppose. I didn't play that for work, so that's definitely one of them. Also, Cyberpunk, I think, is one of them. But this is like the first time in, God, I don't know how long, where it's like been a turn-based JRPG style game that I've just been so hyped to look forward to getting back to playing. I
Yeah.
really did start having these flashbacks of like high school, or what we call senior school in England. Um,
Hmm.
and wanting to get home and play Final Fantasy X and stuff like that, man. It's been it's a nostalgia trip in one vein, but it's also so fresh at the same time, right? I can't
Hell
get
yeah.
enough of this game. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Oh yeah.
Has your take evolved over time? How far are you in, Cog?
Yeah, I think I'm close to the end of Act One. I'm playing it a little different in the sense that not different, but there were some sections that it was clearly like, hey, danger. You're not supposed to be here. And my ego wouldn't allow me to leave these optional bosses or characters alone. And I
Oh
actually
no.
stood up, but yeah, I stood up like almost all night for one particular one.
Which one?
And it's
Is it
this
the pink
thing.
one? Is it the
Yeah,
pink?
and it's like
Yeah.
one hitting, and I was like level 7, and I'm like, it's getting, if you're not perfect at that level, you're gonna, be there all day, and I'm not doing enough DPS. So I'm like, all right, I'll try to come back. And I went up maybe a couple levels, maybe 2 levels. I was like at 9 or 10, whatever I was. It took me about 30 minutes to beat this thing because I refused to move the story forward until I and I beat it. And literally, Jazz, I went up like 6 levels just by beating this thing. I was so proud of myself. I was like,
Dude,
and I know, yeah,
I,
good.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I and I still haven't gone back and beaten that thing. I was like, I don't think you're meant to beat that thing at level 6, dude.
Correct. Bro, I literally, you have to parry every single attack to
Because
enough to
it'll
do
one
enough
shot you.
DPS. Yeah, the one shot you, and then there was like only one attack that I'm like, okay, this is too risky, so I'll dodge that. It's like 3 versions of attacks, and one of them was a little too risky to get the parry window. But the game is amazing, man. I mean, we talked about a little bit of the ILP, but I'll say it here. First off, this is a French ass game, and I love it. And it is. It starts off like so somber, so foreboding. Like this world that they're living in is just awful. And the way the first hour of the game starts sets the tone, the emotionality, and what's going on. And I won't spoil, but it's you feel genuinely sorry for these people. And what is it, the Gramage and
Garage,
everything
yeah.
that's going on with the Paintress. And obviously, Rand, you explained on Xbox 2 with the whole, based on your life expectancy, you will get Thanos stabbed every
Yep.
year. And like the oldest person is like 33 years old. It is an expedition that prior to that for 100 years have been failing, and no one has been able to stop this dystopian world. It's awful. He's gonna jump in. Jazz, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry,
Oh, I'm
no. I
sorry.
was just muting
Oh,
my
okay, sorry.
mics. Sorry.
Oh, no, right. That's all good. Yeah, nah. So, basically, it sets the tone beautifully. Um, I will say, as a person who loves turn based, I know it's early, and I don't want to be hyperbolic or the prisoner of the moment, but I think me and you discussed this, Rand. It's one of those situations where it is so good. Like I love metaphor. I feel that's peak turn based. I'm an XCOM guy. Like, and as far as the JRPG space, what is it? Fall
Sandfall
Interactive.
Sandfall Interactive, yeah.
This is a master class
Mm.
of development with a small team. What is it? 30 people. Yeah, I got my little nitpicks here and there. I feel the faces are a little double A here
Yeah,
and there.
the lip sync
Yeah,
can kind of It's not good
Yeah,
sometimes. You can definitely tell
my
there's some there's
brother's playing the game in French because he can't stand the lip syncing not being
Yeah.
accurate. But the thing
yeah.
is that's
Oh,
what people in other countries have to deal with all the
with
time.
us. That's a good
Yeah.
point. I didn't realize. So is the French? Jeff, let me ask you a question. Is the French, dialogue voice acting? Is it more synced up in terms of it?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, but you made a good point. In all other countries, they have to deal with that all the time. Meanwhile, us Americans, yo, bro, what's going on with the
Yeah.
lip sync? So good
We
point.
it's
But
it's
yeah,
funny though because, I think people know my history with JRPGs. I used to love them when I was younger, during the PS1, PS2 days. I would play the, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, the Shadow Hearts, the Chrono Crosses, like that was my genre back then. I
yeah,
loved for whatever. I love JRPGs and turn-based RPGs. And I don't know, like as I got older, my taste shifted
mhm.
and I didn't really play that much. And then you kind of, you put out the challenge for me to play Metaphor,
So
right?
proud of you. So proud of you.
Which I did. I played Metaphor in January and
Mhm,
liked the game a lot, right?
mhm,
I do have some issues with some of the stuff,
mhm.
but being as I just played Metaphor, because I see because this Expedition 33 has kind of spawned a bunch of different debates, which we're going to talk about because absolutely the game's amazing. And I think I'm almost at the end of Act 1. I'm like 13 hours in.
Oh, we're in the same spot then.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just got Esque. I don't know if
Oh,
that's like
okay. So
kind
you're
of
just a little ahead of me. You just like
yeah,
I'm
I
close.
just
I'm
got
very close.
him. I'm
Yeah.
like level 25 with the characters.
Nice. Yeah, we're
Um,
close.
in fact, I had just beaten the purple thing or the pink thing that you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
one of the
God.
things I did, and like the way it's weird because I just beat Metaphor and I really liked it, but I
Mhm.
think this game clears Metaphor in like every way possible. But it's I don't like it's weird because like I not only am very intrigued by the story of
Mhm.
what's happening,
Mhm.
but I want to fight. Like
Hell
I
yeah.
am anticipating every single one of these battles, especially new battles with new characters, because
Mhm.
the combat itself is so engaging.
Woo.
It's so it's like this like fusion of turn-based meets Soulsian,
Talk to him.
right? So it's like it's not because normally it's like, oh, it's turn-based, you click something, you watch something happen, and you really don't have anything to do with defense. Normally you would pick like a block or something in your thing and you would take half damage or no damage. But this game doesn't have that because this game gives you puts you in control of it. So you're on like you can't just sit there and just play out the attacks. Like you have the opportunity to either dodge or parry.
Mhm.
And some of these bosses, some of these, enemies, they have these wicked fucking uh attack patterns that are
Bro, the
you
fates.
and like the parries are so like you have to be like almost like pixel perfect sometimes.
Mhm.
But it feels even now it feels so good to parry an attack or dodge an attack, and then how that combines with like the Picto system where you can kind of set up your whole build and
Oh,
do a lot
bro.
of different crazy things
I got a
with the
whole comment on
characters and
that.
the attacks.
Mhm.
It's bro, this might be my favorite turn-based combat system of all time. I don't even
Mm.
think any one of them even comes close to this. But like I do see a lot of the conversation surrounding the game being like
Mhm.
one of two ways, and I don't know which one you want to tackle first. So I'll give the choice to you, Cog.
Mhm.
There's the whole Final Fantasy needs to do this or
Right.
else, right? Because
Mhm.
there's that
Mhm.
whole conversation about Final Fantasy and what it's been doing,
Mhm.
or the Game Pass conversation of cannibalizing sales, because suddenly that's come up again.
Right, right,
Which
right.
one?
Yeah.
Which one did you want to talk about? Which one is
Let me stick with the turn-based part first, the
okay?
Final Fantasy part, because obviously this is my job. I'm Lord turn-based. I think me and Jez are also Lord turn-based brothers,
Yep.
and it's beautiful to see the evolution of where things are. Now, for me personally, I never really played Persona and Atlas games as much over the years until probably the last year and a half, 2 years. Because obviously Game Pass made that possible. The Persona series is in there. And then obviously Xbox got the marketing for Metaphor, which I thought was huge. And like you said, Rand, Metaphor to me was peak when you introduce weaknesses, hey, fire, enemies have these different, tendencies to certain abilities and things like that. They make such a stylistic game, and obviously games with great stories and darker characters. And no disrespect to Persona, because it's a great series and it gets dark. But for me, I was like, I want something. I'm like Jez. I want something more mature. Like I want something more dark. So to see the genre with Metaphor even go even darker was the first thing. But as far as the combat is concerned, you nailed it, Randy. The difference with Expedition is that turn-based has finally now solved how do we get the casual involved. You got a guy like my friend Ebontis who really he loves Souls games. He doesn't really like turn-based because there's no agency on defense. It's like you said, you put the controller down, you select what you want to do, and then you kind of let it play
There's
out.
not even a lot of agency on offense. Normally, it's just you pick something and it plays out. This one at
It's
least gives you like, okay,
bro.
QTE, right?
Yes.
That
And
goes along with it, so you're engaged on both
yes,
ends.
and the reward of perfect timing on the QEs, more bonuses. You don't. So every aspect of the game is agency, inputs, offense, defense, and then you take it to the next level, like you said, with the Picto system. And I'm a person. The reason why I am addicted to a game like a Destiny is actually build crafting, creating builds. Okay, if I do this. And I hit this, if this person is marked, and then this next person hits them with fire, I do bonus damage. Then you got the taint, what is it, the stain system, and and
Yep.
and, and all every single thing that you really and create these very complex builds. This to me is the evolution of turn-based because you have like looter shooter kind of elements, you have souls elements, and then you take the turn-based to the next level. So I'm with you. I know it's early. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but in these 10 hours, it feels superior to and the evolution of where turn based is supposed to go. So I love that people who not normally play turn based are like, yo, this is it. You know what I mean? This is the thing for me. So I love that aspect. Now, if you want me to jump in the second one, let me know as far as that whole,
I like
get
just
past that.
to yeah, just to your point on the build crafting and stuff. It gets
Mhm.
like later on in the game, like I'm a bit further ahead than you guys. Like
Okay.
you've got new mechanics getting introduced later on, new
Ooh.
combat mechanics, and not only that, but you'll start coming across these like chromatic bosses, and
Mm.
they're sort of like elite versions of regular monsters, which
Wait,
Mhm.
are you
they
talking about that guy with the one of them that had the trumpet and he uses trumpet to attack? I don't know
Oh
if you
my
came
God.
across
I
that
fought
one.
I
that
haven't
Oh
trumpet
my
dude. Oh God.
I don't think I've come across that guy yet, but I came across like a
Mhm.
chromatic version of one of those slicey dicey kind of mobs. And
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. The Wolverine guys.
yeah, the
The
Wolverine
same
guys, yeah.
tooth looking guys. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So this specific Wolverine mob that was chromatic, which means like yeah, he was sort of like a boss level version of the same mob. He completely destroyed my entire build because
Wow.
he absorbed fire. And fire is
Mm.
like a key element for like if you make a whole build, a party build around
Yes.
fire, which is like I'm gonna trigger fire to trigger virtuous stance and then
Oh, Virtuous,
do
that's so good.
yeah, it is. It's amazing. But
With
like
Mayela, yeah.
so
Mhm.
like I had a whole build set up around stacking fire, like with Rain of Fire and then
Yep.
Immolate and all this kind of stuff. And then I came across this boss that was just like, I'm gonna absorb all your fire. Fuck you. So I had
Mm.
to go back to the drawing board and
Yes.
like swap out and sort of because like one of the other characters that I've been neglecting from the game, I swapped her out and swapped her into the party, and then
Mm.
had to sort of make a build around countering this specific boss. And
Mm.
and then when I finally killed him, it was like it was so rewarding. They dropped an amazing weapon and then a bunch of other
Nice.
crafting items and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like this is exactly what I want in
Yes.
a Japanese style RPG.
You know,
And like you with Persona, like the mature themes. Like I don't, I can't get into Persona 5 because I just
Mhm.
the whole school
mm,
kid angle,
Oh,
it just
yep.
just doesn't resonate with me at
Me
all. But give
Mojo.
me hyper depression, I can resonate with
yeah.
that.
Well, it's funny because well, it's like one of the things I don't like about the game, and this is
Mhm,
kind of like a staple for RPGs in general,
mhm,
is I don't like the fact that if someone's not in your party, they don't get the full experience.
mm,
Right? So like if you have a crew that you run with, they're
mhm.
just gonna outlevel the people that you're leaving behind.
You know,
And
Oh,
I never liked that in any of those games.
Rand,
Metaphor
I will
actually
say
did do that.
this. I will say this, Rand. Like at the point, I'm like level 30, I think now, and the party member that I use the least is only 5 levels behind me.
Still, the fact,
S-
but
So,
I
but
don't like. I still don't like that
yeah,
though.
sure,
Sure.
but I think most of the damage on your attacks comes from the build and having your weapon scaled. Like I
Sure.
swapped her in for that. I had to swap her in for that chromatic boss, and she was like 8 levels
I
below.
just don't I just don't understand why they just don't being like, hey, everybody gets. Metaphor did the same thing, but there were ways to get to be
Yeah, to
full,
get the
like
things right.
with level up your link with the characters. It'll be like, oh,
Mhm,
now they get the full experience.
mhm.
And
Oh,
I just
oh, you haven't. Oh, okay.
what?
Oh, there's something. Ooh, there's something for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when you get to you're not in Act 2 yet, but when you get to Act 2, there are social links as well. Start
Oh,
coming.
there are okay.
Yeah. So
Well, okay,
I
if
don't
that would
know what that affects, but I think they do unlock things like that because I felt like you. I was like, well, I'm never going to use this character, so she's never going to level up. But then I think I improved my social link with her, and then when I did need to use her for that chromatic boss, she was surprisingly close to my other characters, but also I think it unlocks other abilities and stuff because there's a bunch of talents in the talent tree that's like locked out and
Yes.
shit. But yeah,
Yeah.
there is loads of mechanics that open up as you go through the acts.
I yeah,
Mm.
I just love how each character is different. Like Gustav, my
Yeah.
man Robert
So different.
Pattinson, you know, he's got the whole overcharge system, and then
Mm.
you have Lune with her whole stain. She's like, you know, the
Yeah.
black mage. She's then you got Mael, who's like a fencer. She got the
Yes,
stances.
bro.
I ended up getting a sword, a weapon
Mhm.
for her that puts her in virtuous stance from the start. So I
Oh,
start off every battle in
Oh, I don't
virtuous
think I
stance.
have that.
I'm jelly. I don't have that. I
I
You
don't
love
think
know,
it
I have
so
though.
that.
So you know when you go to the Gestural Village
Yes,
and you
that's
have
right
to
now.
do and you have to do the fights leading up to actually getting what's her name,
Mhm.
the fourth
Squeal.
chick.
I know what you mean.
A
Yes.
seal.
Mhm.
You have to pick one person
Squeal.
to do the
That's
battles
fine.
with,
Mhm.
right? Depending on which one you pick, you get a different weapon for each character. So
Oh.
I did it with Mael because I like her.
Mhm.
And the weapon that I got for doing that was a weapon that put you in virtuous stance from right at the beginning of the battle. So now
I
I'm in
picked a
virtuous
different
stance.
weapon.
Wow.
Now I'm in virtuous stance right away.
Plus 200 on that
So
stance.
I don't need to set it up where
You have
someone's
to flow
burned
into it.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
do the attack to put me in virtuous stance. I'm in
Mm,
virtuous stance
that's
right from the
sick.
beginning.
See, those are the little things, right? And for me, I can appreciate a character like Mael because you could tell they took so much inspiration for so many games that they love. Mael to me is a fighting game character. When I play a game like Tekken or Soul Calibur, there were characters like that in Soul Calibur that would go from stance to stance, whether it be a Siegfried or a, Mitsurugi. That's how she plays, and it's like it's so ingenious. And we didn't even talk about not only do they have the pick those system, and you pick the three. Then if you level it
Yep.
with 4 fights, you can take that and make that a passive for every
Yep.
other member in the group. It is so
You
much
get the
build crafting.
Lumia points. Like you get
Oh,
one for every time you level up, but then you find them in the thing. So it's like you
bro.
could have the 3 Pictos equipped, but then have
Mhm.
like 50 points to spend in any of the Pictos that you have
Yes,
unlocked and
bro.
mastered. You can put for any of the characters, so you can start building out crazy
Yes.
stuff.
And that's
Um,
separate from the skill tree, which is its own thing.
I
It's
know.
so
It's so
deep and
great.
rewarding. It's
It's so
amazing.
great. It's
It
so
is.
great. But I
Mhm.
guess there's that other topic because you know you had the stuff with Jez is very much like Final Fan. Jez wrote a scathing article
Oh,
about how Square
what's that?
Enix lost the plot, and
I upset some
Final
people with that
Fantasy
article.
Final Fantasy needs to adopt this system, which whatever. But the other thing that is kind of a big talking point is the whole Game Pass situation, the
Mm,
cannibalization of sales,
mm,
all that stuff surrounding this game. Does Game Pass hurt? Does it help?
right.
Because it's a debate. Because people were worried that this game wouldn't find its audience because for whatever reason, Microsoft decided to shadow drop Oblivion 2 days before this game. And there's the thing about, well, maybe they're different audiences, Western RPG versus new turn-based game, right? And Oblivion's done amazing. What does it have? 4 million players already? But that here's the game that people are really putting up as like game of the year contender, and
Mhm.
it's announced 1 million shipped, but they haven't given
Yeah.
Game Pass numbers. Even when they said, "Oh, that doesn't include our amazing Game Pass, community or whatever." But it's really gone down that path again of sustainability of Game Pass and all the stuff that goes along with it. So I gotta get your take, Cog, about that whole discussion about cannibalization and all those. Okay, here we go. We get a successful game in Game Pass, a highly rated game of the year contender, and some of the discussion around it is centered around this. So, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's funny because a lot of this is, to me, in my opinion, and I've talked to you before about this, Red. A lot of prisoner of the moment, a lot of hindsight is 2020 stuff, in my opinion. Because, you know, for a month or two, the speculation was what type of content Oblivion remake or remaster would be. And people were very concerned that it would be low effort. The concern coming in was, last year I was there. I think me and you were in that audience just for the Xbox showcase, and I remember
Yeah.
seeing Expedition debut for the first time. And King's next to me, and I tap. I'm like, "What the hell game is that? How did Xbox get the marketing for it? And then not only that, get it in Game Pass." I was like, "What a find!" Like to me, that game screamed PlayStation exclusive type energy, a game that Sony would target and generally historically lockdown, and you'd be like, okay, that fits the bill. Very flashy, almost a hashtag just one style energy, third person over the shoulder cinematic, but it just happened to be turn based and it looks beautiful. I was like, kudos to the Xbox team for even getting that. So the talk coming in was Expedition is one of the most highly anticipated games of the month. You better stay out the way. Everyone's talking about it. The early previews seem good. And then as we got closer, we start hearing more rumors about Oblivion. And it was like, okay, why would Xbox do that? That was the talk. Why would Bethesda shadow drop an iconic franchise? It's going to get demolished by Expedition. That was the true conversation. Now, what happened is as we got more information and we saw it and we go, wait a minute. Wow. Once the reveal happened at the very end and we go, wait, this is a huge effort being put in by Bethesda and Virtuos to really, you can borderline say this is almost remake level of how much quality and care was put in. So then the conversation slowly shifts because you see how amazing it is. But what I feel we learned from this, and I'm gonna get to the Game Pass part, is that when it dropped Oblivion and it was shadow dropped, and we saw that engagement, what was it, 150,000? It was literally engagement that was like midday. People weren't home from work yet. It wasn't even the weekend. And it was blasting the internet. So what that showed me is people underestimated, including myself, the power of the Elder Scrolls brand name. That's what this is. Elder Scrolls is just a phenomenon, and it gave people hope that, wow, when Elder Scrolls 6 comes, with maybe UE5, oh my God, what could be? Now we get back to the Game Pass thing. This is how I look at it. Now, granted, could Expedition, if, Oblivion wasn't this week, maybe have hit 2 or 3 million? Yeah, it's possible. But here's what I look at it. they secured a bag. Xbox found this game, and Sandfall secured a bag for their future to get this thing across the line, and it brought so much exposure to the game. So to me, I don't look at it as, yeah, if you say cannibalize sale on the Xbox platform, but it's not an exclusive. You could buy it on PlayStation, you could get it on PC. So I just think it's interesting to me that this conversation is coming up right now, because obviously both companies have really, literally, I don't know if you saw the Sandfall accounts and the Bethesda accounts. I think even Expedition put like the Patriots thing with the Oblivion Gate in it. They're congratulating each other, and I just think it's a beautiful thing. If you're on Xbox, this is literally the golden era of the service. Since, like, I would say the last time it been this good is probably since the days of MLB The Show and Outriders. And that year, I believe it was 2021, where it was just, it made no sense for you to not have Game Pass. So I'm curious with Jezza on your thoughts on it. These are just my, off the cuff thoughts in reference to this whole conversation. I just find it interesting, but I don't look at it as like, man, what a mistake. Because if you really look at it, I mean, at least on the Xbox side, that Shadow Drop was kind of ingenious marketing, and both are thriving. I'm looking at the most played on Xbox. I'm looking at the engagement. They're both up there in the top 10. I'm looking at, I'm looking at Steam numbers, number one and number two. Oblivion number one, number two is Expedition 33 as far as most sales. So I don't see, unless there's something I'm missing, such a negative effect right now. But I'm curious of your thoughts, Jez. Like, what do you get from, all of this? Hey, it's cannibalizing. This was a mistake, or are you on the opposite side of this discussion?
Well, I think one of the issues is that a lot of the people who put analyses out there, right, their analyses are kind of biased by sales figures, because they don't really know the exact figures that Game Pass has, because Microsoft's not really particularly transparent with it. We get like figures like, oh, this is how much people spent on Game Pass. I think Matt Piscatella shares like spending on subscription services and things like that. But it's also like how do they access that data? Like, Microsoft doesn't share that data. So it's like, are they going off like retail sales of Game Pass time cards or something? Like, you don't know. So, like, one of the things that I often do when I sort of hear some of these facts and figures go out, and to be fair to Matt Piscatella and some of these analysts, they specifically say this only covers the US market, or this covers this market, and that's so on the other. And obviously Microsoft's, at least for now, is a global brand, right? So I was talking to some sources about this whole argument, because I obviously I've got my own opinion, but I also like to hear like what their thought processes are from the people who are pushing these services, and why for them success is measured differently to what, like, armchair commentators would common sensedly kind of reach for when in terms of discussing it, right? That's not a word. Common sensedly? What the fuck? I haven't had any
I like it.
coffee today, so I'm gonna blame that. But anyways, so for them, it's like Microsoft's whole, and this is born of the Netflix business model, because Microsoft hired a lot of people from Netflix in order to facilitate the business model for Game Pass, right? So a lot of what they do revolves around reduce churn, and churn refers to the amount of people who unsubscribe, sorry, month over month, right? So you want to
Mhm.
prevent people from unsubscribing as much as possible. So if a game like Indiana Jones, for example, sells better on PlayStation because it's not available on subscription there, that's not to suggest it wasn't a success for Microsoft's business model, because if it prevented churn that month or reduced churn that month, and kept people subscribed because they think the service is valuable, that's great. And if those people only play, like, I don't know, say for example, there's, I don't know, uh, say, for example, just off the top of my head, say there's $1,000 worth of value within Game Pass at any one time, but the individual, for example, subscribes for 12 months because every time he thought, I'm going to unsubscribe, there was a good game there worth playing that kept him subscribed, or a good service or something, right?
Right.
that individual, if they're subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate, they might end up being worth more than the same individual who potentially bought fewer games that year and then otherwise played only free-to-play games, stuff like that. Because one of the things that's often omitted from these discussions is the fact that Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is not free, and it's not exactly, cheap either, So a person who, in the universe where free-to-play service games or games that sort of you buy once and then you play forever, why isn't there more discussion around like for example, right now, I'm looking at playing the Diablo season again. I've already paid for this season, and if I don't buy any cosmetics, and if I don't pay for any battle passes, Microsoft's not making a penny off me this quarter because I'm just playing the free update, the free season, with the version of the game that I already purchased like over a year ago, Vessel of Hatred. But if I'm subscribed to Game Pass, and if Game Pass gives me some extra currency for Diablo, just as an example, and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm getting some value there. Microsoft has monetized me in a way that they otherwise might not have done, So the whole discussion about Game Pass is far more complex, and it's more difficult to create quick narratives in tweets, in discussions, because you actually have to like drill down into the reality of what a subscription-based business model actually looks like, and by putting the games on PlayStation, Microsoft can essentially have their cake and eat it. Yeah, PlayStation gets a cut, but it's not a huge cut, and they can offset any potential, any users that might potentially only subscribe for 1 month. So, and I've been told very few people actually do this, where they subscribe for 1 month just to play a game and then unsubscribe. So if I'm someone who subscribes to Game Pass, plays Indiana Jones, and then unsubscribes, then potentially, that could be considered cannibalization. But the thing is, most people don't behave that way with Game Pass. They stay subscribed. So on average, it's like, how much is Game Pass now? $20 for Ultimate?
20 for Ultimate.
Yeah, so it's like, what's 20 times 12? Math. 240, is it? 20 times 12 rand, come on. 20 times 12.
I don't know.
240, yeah. 240. I wanted to double check that because I'm like, oh shit, if I got that wrong, I'm going to look like an idiot. But yeah, $240. Now, I think a lot of people in today's era of service games, free-to-play games, ongoing games, they wouldn't necessarily spend £240 on core games. A lot of people wouldn't, I don't think. So, and those most engaged users, and Microsoft said this at GDC, those most engaged users are people who tend to like not only subscribe but also pay for games too because they're hyper engaged with it. So,
right.
But it's just it's another cornerstone of the business. It doesn't have to be the entire business, but there's another aspect of this which is also often overlooked, which isn't covered by analysts because they're not analyzing countries where this is a reality. But there are countries within Microsoft's ecosystem where cloud and Game Pass Ultimate are bigger for them than PC and console. And I think Microsoft will probably come out and talk about this soon, because often when I hear these kind of things, like on Xbox 2 podcast last week, I said, I've heard that Microsoft might share Oblivion stats soon. And I think during the show, they did share them. So I think like when I start hearing like this, this is a reality, it's often a result of there's a press release percolating through Microsoft's internal systems, right? So if I'm hearing like cloud is currently number one for Microsoft in some countries, some developing nations, where tariffs or taxes or whatever is cost prohibitive towards buying a console or a PC, and but they might have a smart TV or something like that because they're manufactured there. Then cloud has become a big service there, and those people are Game Pass Ultimate first, and they're people that wouldn't even exist in the ecosystem otherwise. So, I think Microsoft's not very good at being transparent and communicating the successes they have had,
That is
you
true.
know? Um, and maybe they should be a little bit more transparent because the companies the data that we do have, which is often US Anglo-centric, and also the Steam concurrency stats, which is, the Steam cohort behaves a lot more differently than console cohort. That sort of biases a lot of the narrative and talking points around things that could potentially look unfavorable for Microsoft. But investors know the full skinny of things,
Hmm.
and Microsoft internally surely knows the full skinny of things.
Yeah.
Um, so
And
I
just
don't know.
to add, no, please continue.
I think that could shut down a lot of these arguments by being more transparent.
I agree. I agree. I think in fairness to the other side, I think that's what it is. We have to be able to parse the data that we do have, and some of the data we just don't have because they haven't been transparent on that aspect. What I have heard though, in reference to, because I brought it up internally, like, hey, I'm just curious, like, because I remember I came into it very concerned the opposite way, not for Expedition, but for Oblivion. This was before the actual reveal, before we got the information, and a lot of stuff I've heard internally is a lot of it is, hey, the quarter. When you have a month where PlayStation is going to have Forza Horizon 5 and they're going to have, Indiana Jones, right? So a lot of the talk also is like now you throw in a quarter with, like you said, an Expedition and in terms of, and what you call it, an Oblivion. This really looks favorable, to stakeholders. And I think that's also a factor here as far as the timing and stuff like that. And we just got to be honest with the sheer amount of volume of games that they have. There really isn't necessarily a good month because guess what? Towerborn dropped today, right? May is Doom. The Dark. All these games look phenomenal, and then we obviously have the showcase that's coming up where they plan to have more surprises and things like that. So yeah, it's an interesting discussion. I'm curious, Rand. I know you've been seeing the talk,
Well,
about cannibalization.
I don't
So
know.
where you at?
It's well because like Microsoft and Xbox admitted that Game Pass cannibalizes sales, and anybody with the brain should know that it does on the platform. It's a rental service that people use, and if they're subscribed to it, you know, yeah, you can buy the game. You could try it on Game Pass and then buy it, and I'm sure there are people that do that. But yeah, like you're definitely gonna lose sales because some people will just decide to play the game through Game Pass. Now, the thing is, devs aren't held at gunpoint to put their games in Game Pass.
Wait, they're
They're
getting rewarded for
compensated.
that?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
wow. Wow.
compensated
Wow.
for their efforts. So
Mm.
it's like a mutual agreement of like, hey, what do we think, the game's worth, and what do you think, what do you want? And it's like, so Kepler Interactive is the publisher of Sandfall. They have had a bunch of games on Game Pass, so they must really enjoy uh, the boost it gives them, right? And then there is the whole virality aspect of, hey, you put this game on Game Pass, more people will play it, potentially more people talking about it on social media, which could drive more sales on other platforms like PC and PlayStation. Those are sort of things they've talked about, but I don't know. I mean, I think I think Game Pass is a great thing depending on like the game that you are. And clearly it really seems like Expedition 33 is going to benefit from being on the service and getting the marketing push behind it and getting the visibility and the virality that it can offer, so like more people play it. But like, is it going to sell less copies on Xbox because of Game Pass? Absolutely, but
Mhm.
they're compensated for that. So I don't really understand like people's arguments when it comes to this idea of cannibalization. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you're going to rent it, there's a good chance you're not going to buy it. You know, that's just kind of is. Microsoft admitted that during the ABK trial. So it's not even something that uh, they're even trying to fight. It's just like, yeah, this happens, but they're paid for it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It's just I think people like to argue. I think there is, people. It really comes down to which side are you on? And it's usually like if you're not on Game Pass and you're over there on PC or you're over there on PlayStation, there's this thing like, oh, Game Pass is bad. And then why is it bad? Because it does this. And if you're an Xbox fan who loves Game Pass because it saves you money, I mean, just think about the money it saved you if you're playing a lot of the games this year. Like Game Pass Ultimate costs $240 a year,
Mhm.
but just between Oblivion and Expedition 33, that's $100.
$100 right there.
Doom's $70 next month. That's
Mhm.
170. You know, if you had played Avowed, that's 240. That's the whole year paid for just from those games, and not including anything else coming out this year like Ninja Gaiden 4 or Outer Worlds 2 or Call of Duty or whatever else. Like
Mhm.
like it's paid for. So the value is there depending on how much you actually want to play. Now, sure, if you only play one game a year or you play two games a year, Game Pass probably isn't for you.
As Phil
You
stated.
know,
Mhm.
as Phil stated, and you know, I think I sort of think that's also the problem that Game Pass runs up against because, as like Matt Piscatell and a lot of analysts say, the majority of gamers out there only play one or two games,
Mhm.
and usually the ones that they do play are free to play, which you know aren't really on Game Pass. So, I think that's kind of where the wall they're hitting with Game Pass on
Mhm.
console and PC is that like most people only play a game, one single game a year or two games a year, so there's no reason to spend $240 on something that you're not going to get your value out of. But for like me or you or Jez or
Yes.
anybody else is listening that are hardcore that are like want to play all the games, yeah, you're going to get your money's worth.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I
Um,
think I'm sorry, please, I'll let you finish. I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, you're on fire with that. I think a lot of this too. Get it, like you said. What side are you on, so to speak? What perspective are you coming from? And I think a lot of this is again. I'm from the era of pro consumer, right? Anything as young cog growing up with $150, Nintendo cartridges and Neo Geo stuff and all that. For me, I look at the value proposition. I'm always going to think as a consumer first. So if I'm sitting there in a week and I'm like, okay, I play these games, I'm going to buy this game. There's no question that Game Pass is the undisputed value proposition. It's not even close. Now I understand the argument for those who are on the Xbox ecosystem, right? Primarily, right? If you're on it, yes, it's going to cannibalize because most Xbox users, you would think, are going to pick up the game in the service that is, for them. Now, the whole thing, I think the narrative shifted is once Xbox changed their strategy and became multi-platform and putting games elsewhere, we have to admit something had changed where maybe they felt at that moment, whether they didn't hit the internal targets that they wanted to for Game Pass, that the strategy has thus changed. Thus, we're going to put these other everywhere. So that's where I agree with Jez. Was almost like the cake and eat it too. It's come to the point now, and I'm just going to be brutally honest, where it's just like people are so locked into their ecosystems that they want to play where they want to play at. And what this showed me is that Xbox did have great games because if you look at the PlayStation Store, it's dominated right now by Xbox games in the top of the list over some of PlayStation exclusive and even some third-party games. So what Xbox has figured out, okay, they don't want to necessarily be here with us, but they want to stay where they are. Great. You go pay full price for these games that you have not experienced, and now they're seeing this engagement. So this is a cake and eat it too moment, and they can thus supplement the optional dream for people who want to stay in the ecosystem as far as playing on Game Pass, and then still allow other games to exist. And to me, what a lot of people are still thinking is with the old mentality, with the console sales matter mentality, and the developer, is getting hurt mentality. But if you listen to the developers, they are saying, yes, we like Xbox's strategy. We want our games to be everywhere. Like that's most beneficial for us. The days of locking down into an ecosystem, you're starting to see it get less and less. You start to see Square Enix even say, hey, we need to put these games everywhere. You're starting to see a lot of teams. I think it was that team, Crimson Desert or whatever. They said, hey, Sony, look, we see the potential of our game, but we want this on PC. We want this on Xbox. That's what's happening. And we're seeing a shift where developers are saying it is most beneficial for us to not miss the zeitgeist and only launch on one platform and one ecosystem and be everywhere. And I think that's what's happening. I think a lot of this is the old transitionary way, we're in a transitionary period of thinking, and people have to wrap their head around it. As long as the developer, like you said, is getting compensated, they took a risk on their game and they're like, hey, we could use this Game Pass back. It'll be beneficial to that ecosystem, and at the same time, it'll be on PlayStation, it'll be on PC, cloud, or whatever, and there you have it. So I think it's the best of both worlds. I don't know. I just think some people, in my opinion, are still clinging on to the old ways, and I get it. We come from that. We've grown up in that, and it's been ingrained in us so long. But this is just a new day, and I think as time goes on, we're gonna remember this period as kind of like that inflection point where things did change.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right. It's either way, like Microsoft's not going to change tack. I mean, a source recently said something to me which kind of resonated with me because I was discussing all this stuff about games and going multi-platform and how, like, what would it look like now in an alternative universe if we had like Oblivion dropping exclusively, or even like some second party stuff like Clair Obscur, maybe. What if that was exclusive? That kind of thing, or Doom going exclusive. And you know, and the source said to me, and this kind of like I felt kind of inspired by it at the time. They said we want to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we want to really compete in hardware, and we're doing some amazing things with our controllers, which has been in the news a little bit this week. We're doing stuff with our controllers that we're really proud of, and we're doing some really, really strong things with hardware as well next gen. Um, and the fact that we've freed the games gives us more freedom to not have to match Sony so directly, you know. So I was just kind of rattling around in my head, like, what exactly could that mean? Are they gonna like undercut Sony on price? Are they gonna overcut Sony on power? Are they gonna offer something truly premium that just blows PlayStation out of the water when it comes to performance, and we end up in a situation like where the games could we end up in a situation where the games look better and also the console's cheaper which was essentially the truth with the 360 gen,
Mhm.
when it came to certain ports at least. So I just kind of want to, like, because I know they're not going to change tactic, and I am a pessimistic kind of person where it's like I just assume the worst, and I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I really want to believe that there's some kind of innovation in hardware that also inform this decision, where it's like, well, if we
Mm.
do this with hardware, then we don't need to have exclusive games. You know,
You know what the
I don't.
innovation is going to be? It's going to be AI. There you go. That's what it's going to be.
I mean,
That's
it
why the
might
next
be.
system. That's why the next system's called the Xbox 365 Copilot.
That's the differentiator.
Well,
Yeah,
you laugh, right? But what if it is AI? What if there's some kind of, what if
it's
there's an,
100% going to be AI.
well, what if there's an
100%.
NPU on
Mhm.
the new box which makes NPCs behave in a much more realistic way than PlayStation could possibly hope to match? And PlayStation gets like the basic AI bots that we're,
I don't know. Do people care about that though? Is that something people are interested in?
I don't know. No one's ever done it before.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be huge, or it could fucking blow up in their face spectacularly.
It could. But
You
I
know?
think I think what's evident is just doing exactly the same thing over and over again wasn't winning them
Sure. I mean,
anything either.
what is that? The quote from Far Cry 3, Vaz? What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing,
Doing the same thing repeatedly and
expecting
expecting a different result.
results. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, sure, like you could try to do something differently, you
Mhm.
know? I like assuming, I don't know. I think like assuming, oh, well, we can undercut Sony on hardware. I mean, Microsoft doesn't even care about selling hardware right now.
Mhm.
Like, so I don't know why, like, in a situation of like with the world state we're in with tariffs and everything, if like you suddenly expect them to come out with a powerful system that's also cheaper than the competitor, like I'm already resigned to the fact that the next console is probably going to cost $700 because I
I'm
don't
just
really
playing
think they
devil's
want to take a
advocate
lot.
at the end of the
Sure,
day.
we could play devil's advocate all day long, but we don't know. We Until they come out and talk about it, they can come out in these interviews. Phil can come out in these interviews and talk about we want to win based on the innovation of the system and the creativity and all that stuff. They're just buzzwords to me. There's nothing real behind it until they actually explain what it all is.
Right.
You know what I
What,
mean?
let me ask you a question. What do you
They're
feel
just
about?
hollow words at this point.
I feel you. What do you feel about the rumors or the potential of that? The hinting of a multi storefront, next generation Xbox, where you live in a world where there's the
See,
Steam and Epic
I
Store and
think
all that
maybe
stuff.
I think, and we've talked about that a lot.
Mhm.
Look. I don't know how this is all going to play out. I definitely think a Xbox that has Steam that you can easily access, as long as it's easy to access and it's something that like, and I'm assuming we're talking about it just from the console because I do think it'll probably be there on the PC
Mhm.
side of things. But like, as long as you don't have to like plug in a keyboard and a mouse or something to access it, and as long as it's not like you have to activate desktop mode on your console,
Mhm.
as long as it's like something that is integrated extremely well,
Mhm.
where you could go to the store, download the games, and your system plays them. That's a compelling device depending on also the price.
Right.
But I think some people, especially in the conversations with this, since we're so far out, I think a lot of people have put the cart before the horse when it comes to this.
But
Like,
I think people are putting the cart before the horse because there's nothing to talk about otherwise.
well, one, there's nothing to talk about, but two, people are already like, they're already talking about it like this is what the plan and this is how it's all going to play out. And it's like, are you really sure this is how it's all going to play out? Like, I could
Mm.
see it being that on the PC app. Like, I mean, GOG did that before, so I definitely could see Xbox doing it on, the PC storefront where it's like, okay, it looks in the folder where your Steam games are, so you can load up the Xbox app and play your Xbox games, but also launch your Steam games through it too.
Mhm. Well, they are flirting in the handheld space. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah. I mean,
like Ally
Project
and
Keenan's
Project Kingdom.
is probably gonna be announced at the June showcase.
Mhm.
Which is probably poor timing for them, considering the Nintendo Switch 2 is about to release like 2 days before that. Is anybody going to care about Project Keenan in the shadow of Nintendo Switch 2? I don't know. There is that to kind of consider, but that whole idea of like Steam being on the console and it's like, oh yeah, we can get all these games and all the PlayStation games and all that stuff. I'm kind of like, oh, let's cool our jets a bit.
Mm,
Like let's see if this
mm,
actually happens.
mm.
I mean, sure, I would want it to happen because I do think
Mm.
that future is definitely way more interesting uh than than just another regular, hey, here's the console and here's the games and
Yeah,
whatever. Like, okay, yeah, that could be a compelling device, but we don't know how it's all going to play out. And even when
fair.
they've talked about other storefronts on their consoles, they explicitly never talked about Steam,
Mhm.
right? It was this Epic and itch.io. The only reason people are talking about Steam because of that screenshot that they showed from GDC where
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Steam was there, but then I think like your own games was in there twice, which was odd.
Mhm.
So I'm sure it's probably something they are thinking about, but I am in this scenario, I'm just saying like I just hope people aren't putting the cart before the
I got
horse
you. No, I
in
got
this
you.
thing.
I'll just jump in real quick. I definitely, I think my concern about, I think it's super compelling. For me, I am biased towards that level of equals. I feel with Xbox Play Anywhere is the future of gaming. I feel like being able to go with my data on any storefront, any platform, that to me is where gaming needs to go. And I love the way they've been really trailblazing in that space. I agree with you, Ren, on this part that the only thing I need to see as an ally user, I love, the fact that it is native Game Pass. I have my Steam, storefront. I have my Epic Game. Like I miss out on nothing. And in a world where they're going multi-platform, in that future, they would benefit because I know the console bros, they get mad like, yo, I just want things exclusive, whatever. But it's a smaller audience. At the end of the day, Xbox can still make all this revenue from all these different storefronts, no matter where you buy it. So it's more piece of the pie if you look at it as a whole, as to just say, hey, we're gonna make this closed off thing. It's only Xbox, you only get it here. That to me is them future proofing. Now, where I'm with you, Rand, where I don't have faith is the implementation. I think, Jez, you've made great articles as well in terms of the UI and the interface. Things need to be operating from a controller and an Xbox console perspective as opposed to the PC Game Pass UI and Game Bar thing. Now, granted, they've made strides. They keep iterating. They keep improving. But until I see the integration of the application of it, then I'll get confidence. So to me, I look at this, the rumored Project Canon is something that I think these are like the building blocks to what they're trying to do. Now, granted, yes, I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. We need to see what they do when it comes to the next generation of hardware. But I think we'll get more tidbits on how they're approaching it, and that's what I want to see. Because if they do nail that, if they do have this integrated UI where I can use completely with a controller, I can access anything without having to be forced to use a Windows 11 prompt, and like I want it like I booted up an Xbox console and I just happen to have these applications that take me elsewhere. I think they can do a lot of damage there, and I think financially they'll be extremely in a good position. But to me, it's all about the implementation. I just can't wait to see that aspect. And the last thing I was just going to say, I know we were talking about the Game Pass stuff and the multi-platform strategy, is I'm looking at the PlayStation Store right now. Right now, the top 10 games in the U.S. Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered is number 1. Number 4, it's Forza Horizon 5. Number 6, Call of Duty. Number 7, Expedition 33. Number 8, Roblox. And number 9, Minecraft. Look who controls a lot of these properties. Very interesting to me. And again, I know it's early, but these are the data points I like to look at. How is this strategy working for them? And to me, this is the ultimate cake and eat it too. PlayStation, we haven't even gotten to Switch yet, they haven't even implemented the strategy over Nintendo, which we know that base is feverish or not experienced a lot of these Xbox titles. So again, the early days, as much as my emotionality and worrying about the Xbox brand mirrors Jez, where it's just like, man, are they going to hurt themselves? We are seeing early signs that people who said they had no interest in the platform, as soon as it comes to their platform, they are engaging. That's what this shows me. So ultimately, I'm wrong and they may be right in the short term, like, this was the right call when we look at it a couple of years from now. But time will tell. We'll see the implementation.
I'm surprised Oblivion's selling better on PlayStation than Forza Horizon 5 is.
Yes.
That was my first thought when you said Oblivion was number 1 and Forza was 5. I was like, that's interesting.
Well, I think this is the thing with that, right? I think one of the big challenges the gaming industry is facing right now is the lack of new users. And I think if you have been if there is a lack of new users, you got to expect that the hardcore racing fans were already on Xbox already and have already gone through Forza. So I'm actually not surprised it's lower down than it is, because it's the same shoes on the other foot when a fighting game comes to Xbox. All the fighting game players are on PlayStation now, So it's great when a fighting game does come to Xbox, and Microsoft's done a little bit better there. But we're talking about niche communities, and gaming is just a generally niche hobby now. That's like the big existential crisis that gaming is having, is like, where's the next generation of gamers going? And apparently it's almost like gaming is not really seen as something to be passionate about anymore. It's not like it's become this sort of like, it's just a thing that people do now. It's like, oh yeah, I play Roblox every now and then, but I'm not a gamer. Or I play Candy Crush, but I'm not a gamer. That's sort of I don't know what the word would be. But
we old, Jeff.
We're old. Like it's the sort of the normalization of gaming, has created an opportunity for hyper casual games like Candy Crush to find these vast, massive audiences. I was reading the other day about some game I've never heard of on mobile crossing like $11 billion in revenue, and it's just some it's like some Pokemon knockoff gacha monster catching game, and I was like, what the fuck? I've never heard of this game. And it's on $11 billion? It's like, what the hell? It's like console games just never see that kind of money. So, I think the industry is going through a very slow motion reorganization around the fact that, or a sort of disruption around the fact that a lot of these big publishers, like, they want gaming to be bigger than it is, and there's a lot of money in gaming, but that's not because gaming is big. It's because we spend a lot of fucking money on it. And I'm talking about core gaming, and the prices keep going up. We got $80 now. They're finding the growth by making it cost more, not by finding new users. And there's reams of data on this. So it's not just me talking out of my ass. You look at the last 10 years, the total number of core gamers that exist is about 200 million at any one time. It's about how do you reach those casual gamers? How do you convert them into more passionate gamers and more passionate spenders? And I think this is why you see, and I think so many movies being produced about games right now. I think
Transmedia.
Microsoft will announce. I think I've heard that Minecraft has hit record user growth on the back of the movie, and I think Microsoft will come out and maybe talk about this in the quarterlies. But I heard that it saw something like a double-digit uplift, something like 20%, 30%. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it was a huge amount of extra players or returning players because of the movie. And yeah, maybe that is mostly returning players because, goddamn, who hasn't purchased and played Minecraft at this point? But you got to assume that a lot of those are maybe young little kids who are trying Minecraft for the first time, Gembox 360, for example, a good friend of mine.
Oh yeah,
She
shout out to Jimbox.
yeah, Gembox is awesome. We need to get her on the show at some
Yeah,
point.
she's awesome.
Yeah,
Definitely
she's
that needs to
awesome.
happen. Yeah.
But the she's like, her 4-year-old is an avid gamer now, and it's so crazy watching a 4-year-old play with the coordination of joysticks and all that kind of stuff like it's nothing, and build redstone machines and all that kind of stuff. Like he's absorbing the culture, but that's because both of his parents are core gamers as well. So I think that's one of the things Microsoft and others have sort of gotten wrong over the last maybe 10, 20 years, but not Nintendo, but definitely PlayStation and Microsoft is you got to get them when they're young because they're your future customers. I think they're starting to realize this a little bit now with stuff like the Minecraft movie and Astrobot, but that's some of the sort of some of the disruption we're seeing is the inflation catching up to the lack of new user growth.
It's funny, with you saying Minecraft reached a new high with monthly active users or whatever, because of the movie, and then we saw what Fallout did for all the Fallout games. And I would imagine with the Oblivion remastered being such a huge success, that I'm sure Fallout 3 remaster, if it's already not being worked on, probably got green a really fast green light, and maybe they can get it ready for the next season or whatever. But man, it really fucking really, when you look at it in hindsight and what these movies and TV shows have done for their games, man, it really makes it look the Halo TV show was just a disaster from front to back because it didn't help the game, and nobody liked the show, and it was canceled 2 seasons in.
It probably hurt the franchise. I mean, that's the risk, isn't
every
it?
every single game,
something shitty
yeah,
could hurt the franchise.
Every single thing you saw that it helped the game, even Devil May Cry, which just released on Netflix, the numbers skyrocketed pretty high for the games on Steam and whatnot. And even I thought about going back and playing a Devil May Cry, but when Halo came out, not a single talk about it.
Are you implying that it did not have the same effect as the Fallout movie and Minecraft, The Last of Us?
No.
Are you implying that the
No.
Halo Paramount Master Chiefs didn't do that?
I can see, with how successful a lot of these shows have been and how the games benefit. That was something Xbox was onto in 2013, but obviously they had to stop doing it. I mean, at this point, what stuff do you not turn into a movie and a TV show? It really seems as long as you do the TV show or movie justice, it's going to benefit the game. So if you got any sort of franchise, you would need to almost do a movie version or a TV version for it. And we know there's a Minecraft TV thing. We know there's a Grounded animated show coming, the Gears stuff. I'd be all right, what else are we doing? What other franchises do we have that have these sort of potential?
Crackdown, baby.
You mentioned
Scalebound.
Oh god,
yeah, Scalebound, God. You mentioned Switch 2 briefly.
Yes.
About Xbox and their games on PlayStation or whatever. Are you surprised that there
Mhm.
wasn't any Xbox games outside of Tony Hawk at the reveal event, and it looks like there aren't going to be any Xbox games available for launch. Like no Sea of
Yeah.
Thieves, no Master Chief Collection. Doesn't really seem like that's going to be. Does that shock you at all in a way?
Yes, yes, it actually did. I got that wrong. I thought for sure, Microsoft would have a presence and would want to be in that window, right? Of that launch window. Because, that attachment rate is high. People want to get, new hardware and you want to get, because if you looked at the Switch launch here in New York City when they did the event, third parties were out in force. CD Project Red, what was it? These guys, the Warner Brothers with was it Hogwarts and Legacy? Everyone knew, hey, we need to get these dev kits. Let's get a part of this. Let's put our best foot forward because it's a more powerful Switch. And now, obviously third parties will be able to run games will be able to run a little better with the technology they have. So I was definitely surprised. So it leads me to believe one or two things. Whereas one, I can't believe that Xbox would not want to be a part of it. So is it a situation where, from a development standpoint, whether from a development kit standpoint, things weren't given to them or they don't have access to it just yet, and that process was just slow? Or two, it's a situation where obviously we do have the Xbox showcase, and with Microsoft's new strategy, is it a situation where they want to control the narrative now on their teams? Because we're starting to slowly see when you watch an Xbox showcase or you watch an Xbox event, now you're starting to see the other logos now. Like we're in a
Hmm.
day where we never would see that would be sacrilege, right? You watch a trailer for an Xbox studio game and then you see your PlayStation logo. That people were like,
Hey,
what's
not
happening?
only you lose exclusive games, but now your games are given exclusive trailers to PlayStation.
Exactly. So,
You know, so
I know where you're going. I know you go, but we're in this new timeline, right? The timeline of Xbox being multi-plat. And here's the thing that as a core Xbox user, we have to admit, you know, that audience that showcase is targeted for us specifically in our audience, but we are the smaller piece of the pie in the grand scheme of the big three and the console ecosystems, right? So what do you do now to make your showcase more appealing? You give the hope of a Nintendo user and a PlayStation user, hey, if I watch this, hey, something might be coming to my platform. So now I have investment. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the approach. And again, it's changing the mentality of stuff that, yes, I agree. I was like, Xbox, what are you doing? I'm not sure about this because my concern always was like Jazz with the brand. I want to make sure that you're not doing damage to your brand so that people would really even want to have your ecosystem to begin with. But again, looking at the data, I know it's only a couple of months, but the data indicates people are still buying it. They are still engaging it. And this is going to be supplementing where they at. So my theory is potentially they will be able to announce or control the narrative on some of their showcases with, some of the titles that we know should come over to Nintendo Switch. I mean, one would think, a lot of these games that have been announced for PlayStation already, we should see a Switch port and it would do a tremendous number. And we do know the final thing I'll say is that we do know one of the big parts of the ABK deal was not only Steam's I want to say friendship, but willingness to say, hey, Microsoft, we don't need a 10-year deal from you. We're good. But one of the big keys I felt to dispel the narrative to the FTC was saying, hey, Nintendo has accepted a 10-year deal of Call of Duty. That was huge. And now we're in a world where Madden is on the Nintendo Switch too. So it's only a matter of time before all these big games get to this audience that never really experienced these type of games from Xbox and the core experience. So I think that's what we're waiting on. And when it does happen, I'm telling you, bro, in my opinion, it's going to be more data, hand over fist money. And we're going to be sitting there like, yo, Nintendo Switch guys are playing Halo, Master Chief Collection or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's gonna do numbers the same way, it's good. It's doing numbers on PlayStation right now. It's surprising to me, but it's the reality. The data is showing people will rather pre-order and buy on theirs. Last point. They're pre-ordering games that they can get right now on the Xbox ecosystem. Think about that. Pre-ordering Forza Horizon 5 Premium Edition. You can get that right now. So what does that tell you? They want to play it on the ecosystem. They don't want to move. It doesn't matter. And I take it back. I had this conversation with Addict because he's real emotional, but he finally agreed. And I was like, I look at it from the inception. The damage was done since the inception of the Xbox One brand. Once that happened, people dug into their digital ecosystems, and that's where they are. And I think that's what's happening right now. And Xbox is adjusted to the strategy, and so far it's working.
Yeah, man.
Mm.
It's
I-
it is it's sort of, it is interesting that Microsoft didn't have a bigger presence there. I think like the fact that it's backwards compatible gives them access to stuff on Minecraft and stuff out of the gate. I suppose it's not like Minecraft needs like a remastered version or anything like that. You know, we are getting some shaders. I think, you know, is Zedox here? Zedox, I'm gonna complain about
I
the
mean,
shaders.
I think it's pretty obvious what happened. I think Nintendo was stingy with the dev kits, and Microsoft didn't get any. I think that's 100% the reason.
Yeah, maybe there just wasn't a load of stock, and maybe they were like, we'll allocate dev kits to developers that are going to make, you know, have a vested interest in finding big success on our platform specifically with new games. Maybe that was the logic. I don't think it was necessarily malicious, you know, because obviously I think a lot of these games are going to come, but yeah, I don't know. I ain't getting one though. Are you guys
You know,
pre-ordering them? Cog, are you pre-ordering your Switch?
I think Cog did. You know.
Yeah, I was
I didn't even look
outside.
on a website. I was just chilling during those pre-orders. Didn't even care. You know.
He did. As a game, I couldn't miss it, and you know, for me, Nintendo's speaking to me only for I'm actually the weird Nintendo guy that I don't really play their first party stuff that much. I actually play a lot of their third party stuff. So they have the weird third party exclusives like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. They had Astral Train stuff that I'm like, man, if they just played a little better, I'd be good. You know what I'm saying? So for me, you know that there's still some things that intrigue, and I will admit though that Metroid Prime 4 looked really good. So I'm just
Yeah,
getting that
Metroid is
marathon.
something that, you know,
Yeah.
I regret is not on a platform I play on. But it's also like, you know, the argument that people use against Xbox. Like, why would I buy
Mhm.
an Xbox for one game? It's like, yeah, okay. Why would I buy a PlayStation or a Switch for one game? As much as it
Mhm.
pains me, there's so much stuff to play now on other platforms.
Yeah.
So I think the
I feel
industry
I
is
mean
just
that's mainly the reason I didn't buy a Switch 2 is because I looked at it. I looked at how much it cost. I looked at like I got to buy a Pro controller, which is an extra cost on top of it because I'm not playing in handheld mode. And then like the only game I'm really interested in is Metroid Prime 4, and I'm like, is it worth $600+ for this one game? And right now, the answer to that question is no.
I feel you.
You know?
Yeah,
well,
definitely the
this is
launch
the
is not
kind
strong
of
enough on it.
and what it comes back to is Phil's frank admission that we lost the generation you shouldn't have lost, which is the
Yes.
generation where people got locked in. It's what you said earlier, Cognito,
Mhm.
which for me informs their hardware strategy going forward. Like, if people are digitally locked in where they are, how do you sell hardware in that universe? Well, you bring the digital lock-in to your platform, which is why
Mm.
we're probably getting Steam on the next Xbox, right? And maybe it's like, you know, I know Rand has strong reservations about this strategy, but if people are digitally locked in, you wouldn't have had any chance to find them otherwise, or any chance to turn them into a Game Pass user, or any chance whatsoever. Making a better Steam Deck, you know, might be the solution. And obviously, you know, there's all kinds of caveats with that, but it comes back to, again, Voss doing the same thing over and over again is a definition of, you know, insanity, expecting a different result, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
So what does it look like when you're trying to sell hardware in a universe where you are third place, people are digitally locked
Mhm.
in? How do you sell hardware in that universe? Maybe Microsoft's got a solution, you know? I'm intrigued to find out what it is.
Likewise, we're in uncharted territory, man. It's intriguing. It's very, very fun. I just love looking at the data, seeing what's happening, what's working, what's not working. You know, and I'm just, I'm not used to this, right? So we just sit back and just watch it, man. It's very intriguing. This is a wild timeline to me. I've never seen this as a gamer because again, I'm coming from the Sega days where it's like, you know, when someone goes third party, you think it's over. Like we're in a world where it's like they're the biggest publisher in gaming, but have a console. Like, wow, like it's wild times. I'm dying to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, I feel that.
You know, it's funny, we were talking about movie stuff, but I just saw on Twitter that there's going to be a Claire Obscure Expedition 33 movie. Apparently, they're
What?
Yeah,
casting
Cognito
now.
mentioned. Didn't you mention
Yeah.
that? Someone mentioned that.
What?
I don't know, maybe
didn't
someone in
this.
chat mentioned it, but I just saw a tweet in Variety.
Ooh.
So movies are going to be the next thing, but
Oh, bro, I
I
can see
think
it.
I wanted to get some stuff that's happened recently. I'm going to get Cog's take on it.
What's up?
Stuff that really happened today. So,
Ooh.
breaking news today. One is the Borderlands moved its release date. Borderlands 4 moved its release
Really?
date.
Ooh.
And it didn't get delayed. So
Okay.
originally it was coming out September 23rd. And then
Mm-hmm.
Marathon had its reveal, and Marathon was coming out September 23rd. And I remember having
Right.
this conversation with you, and you weren't happy with Marathon releasing the same day as Borderlands. You thought that was like, okay, that's stupid. And then I think me and you had both come to the conclusion like, okay, Bungie's playing it safe because since Borderlands is Take-Two and GTA's Rockstar, which is owned by Take-Two, they feel like, okay, this is a good time to reach Marathon because they're not going to hurt their own game with GTA 6 launch, right?
Right.
So you didn't like it, whatever. Well, Take-Two announced today that they're moving the release date of Borderlands up 2 weeks from September 23rd to September 14th or 13th.
Earlier. Wow. Okay.
So it's going to be releasing 2 weeks earlier. What's the exact release date, Jez? Let me see if I can find the exact
I don't know off
release
the top
date.
of my head.
Yeah, so it's coming out September 12th. So 11 days earlier. It was the 23rd, now it's September 12th. So I guess, Marathon gets a nice reprieve, but it's like, do they though? Because I feel like since Borderlands moved up, and games normally don't move up, they get delayed. I feel like that means GTA's decided on a window, and you move 2 weeks up because is GTA coming out in mid-October, late October now, and not November? I don't know. What are your thoughts on Borderlands moving?
Oh, that's wild. I had no idea that happened today. Very surprising because I would have assumed delay, right? I would have assumed,
Yeah.
okay, you need more time. You're gonna figure this out. Obviously, I was very impressed to actually see Randy Pitchford and the team already have a Switch 2 kind of version announcement. So I'm like, they're going all out. They need to rebound. This is a huge release for them. To have it move up is very interesting to me. So look, yes, I'm a Bungie guy, but there's a part of me, my heart says I don't necessarily think it's because of Marathon, because there's a part of me that says yes, it is a factor, but I gotta be honest, the reception is very mixed on Marathon right now. The hardcore Destiny community, they're mostly PvE, so they don't look at that as something that they're gonna necessarily, gravitate towards, as well as the fact it's an extraction shooter, which is niche. And then the problem that Marathon is having right now, and it's very valid criticism, is that it's like, if you're going to do an extraction shooter, commit to whatever your vision is. And right now they're so taking so much feedback. It's part of it is casual, part of it is PvE versus PvP, and then you have the people who are like, hey, it's not hardcore enough. So they're still tweaking, and there's still things that like, oh yeah, that's not going to be at launch. This is not going to be at launch. We're going to add that like proximity chat and all this other stuff. So the consensus in the community is that they need to delay. So I'm actually surprised that Borderlands, quote unquote, blinked first. But to your overall point, because it's all under the Take-Two umbrella, right? There's a part of me is that, yeah, the boogeyman or the paintress that is GTA 6, it's coming. And they have an idea. And man, if so, again, give me that date one more time. It's September. What's the new Borderlands date again? It's September what?
September 12th instead of September 23rd.
So basically, what is it, a 2-week move up?
It's 11 days. So
Okay.
yeah, roughly, 2 weeks, week and a half or whatever,
Ooh.
something like that.
Yeah, a week is not much. That's interesting.
A
It's
week and
still
a half. So it's like, yeah, but it was coming out at the end of September, September 23rd. Now it's coming out like more towards the beginning of September. And I agree with you.
it
I
ain't
don't think it's
matter.
because of Marathon.
Yeah, it ain't matter.
I think it has to do with
With
GTA.
GTA,
I know,
yeah.
Jez.
So
What do you think?
before Jess, I just want to say one last thing, and I'll give it to you, Jess. I'm just curious that they now have maybe locked in with GTA and maybe mid October. And that's my only last theory, that maybe, because I agree it has nothing to do with Marathon in my opinion. But I do feel that the GTA, I feel like GTA's team and Rockstar is like, hey, we're ready. This is where we think we could ship, maybe. And then maybe now internally, like, all right, well, let's let them breathe a little bit. But I'm curious, Jess, what do you think? I'm very curious about this.
I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that it's GTA related.
Mm.
It's interesting hearing you say that the Destiny community is really skeptical of Marathon. I mean, that's gotta be making them nervous, right? I
Yeah,
mean, there's a huge question mark over Bungie in general, and there's an even bigger question mark over. There's like almost a meme or a narrative right now that's running around in social media about the term corpo shooter is something that's sort of emerged recently out of the ether of discussions, and it's kind of like, well, if because so many developers have run headfirst towards battle royale, headfirst towards competing with Call of Duty or whatever in a sort of dispassionate kind of way. It's created this sort of meme that where it's like, and it's funny because it's not Bungie's fault necessarily here, because that they're not the perpetrators of this. But you've got like Fortnite pivoted really hard to co-opt PUBG and was really successful with it. And then out of nowhere, EA came out with a Titanfall mod, which was basically like, oh yeah, here's our battle royale. And they were quite successful with it, luckily. But then the boat left the harbor for games like Hyperscape and the various other sort of battle royales that sort of failed over the years. Like I think the devs of Paladins had one. Ubisoft cancelled other ones that never made it out the gate, like the Ghost Recon Battle Royale. Battlefield had its own Battle Royale, and we all know how that went. Even Fallout 76 had a Battle Royale for a little while, and so did World of Warcraft, funnily enough. But all this sort of like this desperation to sort of be like, oh, me too, we have a Battle Royale, has sort of created a generalized skepticism over other games that seem to be trying to co-opt popular genres. We saw it happen with, there's been a bunch of Overwatch clones that failed, and it sort of took the Marvel IP to push Marvel Rivals over the top of, and also Overwatch shit in the bed. I don't think if
yeah,
Overwatch shat the bed, Marvel Rivals wouldn't have got as much of a look in as it did. Um, but there were various other, Overwatch clones over the years that just didn't resonate, for whatever reason. And I think people have become more skeptical than ever towards games like Marathon, which maybe aren't made, or at least create the perception that they aren't made with necessarily the best intentions, i.e., someone at Sony was like, please make us a battle royale, we need a battle royale, rather than like, oh, we love battle royale, we're going to make our own battle royale. Because it's such a pivot for Bungie, who is sort of like historically all in on making Destiny this sort of, I don't know, grand quasi MMO kind of game, and then now they've moved towards making a premium shooter, which in of itself is like a premium shooter in current year. Is that
hmm
really? Is that also really viable?
I
A premium
know,
shooter
not
in
free to
current year.
play. Yeah,
So
not free to play.
yeah, I get the skepticism. That's got to be making them nervous. But just on Borderlands point, it has to be because of GTA. But I think it's a strong signal from Take Two that they're pretty happy with the way development's going. It must be either at the end or very near the end. Um, I would hope that it's not just a case of like, well, let's just send it out to die because it's never going to be that good anyway. I sincerely doubt it's that. But
Yeah.
it's a pretty big franchise, Borderlands. But yeah, the movie was not the
Ugh.
best.
Yeah, there you go with the movie, right?
Yeah,
Ugh.
so that's another example of a cross media attempt that was a total flop and maybe did damage to the brand rather than help the brand. But
I don't know if it hurt Borderlands, to be
yeah, maybe
honest with
not.
you.
Maybe not.
I actually don't even think most people even probably know a Borderlands movie even came out.
Do you think the
Honestly,
Halo TV show hurt Halo
I
as a
don't think it
brand?
hurt Halo. I don't
You,
think so.
you just think it did
Well,
nothing?
I just don't think people cared about the TV show, but I don't think it had affected how people wanted to view the game. The thing with if you have a good
Fair
TV show
enough.
or a good movie, it brings new people to the franchise. That's what
Mm.
didn't happen with Halo TV show. It just didn't bring anybody new in. It was just and
Hmm.
then like the Halo game was declining by that point, so it was just the decline wasn't stopped. So I don't think the being a bad movie as an is gonna scare people away from because the movies aren't really anything like the games. Like Borderlands 4 is gonna do big because it's Borderlands, and it's been what 6 years since Borderlands 3.
Mm.
So
Has it really been that long?
I want to say Borderlands 3 was like 2019. Let me look. I'm pretty sure that's the date.
Time
And
is
yeah,
crazy,
you
man.
say that, and it's like, holy crap. Borderlands 3 is that's a long time in between games, right? Borderlands 3 came out yeah, 2019. Okay.
Mhm. Some breaking
Um
news, y'all. Just let y'all know with EA
oh yeah, well, that
layoffs.
was the next thing I wanted to talk to you
Yeah.
about today. EA is laying off between 300 and 400 people with 100 at Respawn,
Mm.
and that they had to
Ah,
cancel 2 projects at Respawn, and one of them was a Titanfall extraction shooter that
Mm.
was in early development.
Mm.
So, yeah, how are we feeling about that? How are we feeling
I'm
about
Yeah, just
Respawn
I'm
and
I'm
EA?
quite devastated. I mean, again, another extraction shooter being cancelled is not a huge shock to
A
me, but
Titanfall one
but
though.
yeah, Titanfall extraction shooter, would that have had the mechs in it too? That
I
could have been
mean,
something unique.
why
could
don't
have
they
been
just
it.
give us Titanfall 3? What's up with
I
their
know
aversion
I
to
have
doing a
no
Titanfall
fucking
3?
idea, man.
So much aversion for I don't understand why.
It's probably the same reason people are skeptical of Marathon. It's like, can a premium shooter go up against Call of Duty in the year of
Some
our
of the yeah,
Lord?
it's funny. Some of the complaints I see about Marathon are it's not hardcore enough for the hardcore extraction people, but also it's not deep enough. Like it's
Mhm.
like too casual almost for like the hardcore people, but it's also not
But yeah, it's
it's
but
not
that's the thing.
casual enough for the casual people.
Yeah,
It's kind of just like this
In the middle.
weird
extraction
kind
shooters
of
are
middle
not
ground.
casual. They are
Yep.
stressful, and you have to be extroverted to play them. Like, I don't want to get on comms where I'm playing a game with fucking strangers. That is the literal definition of hardcore for me.
Well, then
You
you got
know,
to go in with the group, bro. We find 2 people to play it with.
I don't have any friends. Having friends is
Oh well,
hardcore, bro.
that is true. That is true.
So it's like they're the very genre is hardcore, right? So I kind of feel like you have to go all in if you're going to make a hardcore game for hardcore people that is all about being hard and core. Then it has to be a hard and or core game, in my view. Um,
Yeah.
but hey, I'm not a game dev, so what do I know?
I just man, uh, I know the last quarter for EA was rough. Because they specifically called out the performance of FIFA or FC was not what they thought it would be. And there was the Dragon Age stuff too, right? Where Dragon Age also missed pretty badly, but I think mostly it
You mean
was
when Dragon Age was the worst game ever made? Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, you say what you will, but yeah. Um yeah, and Apex Legends has kind of been in a steady decline for a while now.
Yeah,
So
it's still popular-ish, but it's
it's
like
still
if
popular,
you
but it's
look at
nowhere near
Steam,
what it was.
it's just
It's
gradually gone down.
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Respawn's one of my favorite devs,
Yeah.
and I'm eagerly anticipating the final game in the Star Wars Jedi trilogy.
Mhm.
And as I I don't care about their didn't they just announce like a new Star Wars RTS?
Your
for
turn-based
Oh,
them.
it's
action.
an XCOM
Yeah.
like Gears
It's an
Tactics.
XCOM like,
XCOM, yeah, it's
yeah.
an XCOM
I
with
am
like
so
bit
about
reactor.
that.
I couldn't give two
Shut
shits about that game because I don't
your
care
mouth.
about.
Shut your mouth,
I don't
Francis.
care
Shut
about
your mouth.
XCOM, Marvel Suns,
Ugh.
RTS bullshit. You know what I mean?
Thank
That's
God we
not
got
for
you
me.
playing turn-based now. We
Yeah,
educated you. Thank God.
Well,
Thank
just
God.
wait. When that game comes out, nobody buys it, and we're gonna see more layoffs at Respawn.
And I'm gonna blame you
You're gonna
for
blame
not
me.
supporting.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame it too.
Yeah, go ahead, blame me for it. I ain't playing that game. I don't
Thank
give.
God you finally played Metaphor and now you're playing X. Thank
No, but
God
man,
turn-based
you
got into your soul.
Yeah, you branched out, and now you enjoyed a
Yep.
turn-based game. Why don't you branch out? What if
Yeah,
it's
but the
got
thing
like
is,
a really
but
good
hold
story?
on.
He's
I've
a Dubro,
always, but
Jazz.
the
That's what
thing
he's
is,
a Dubro gamer.
no. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
He's a dude.
I've always enjoyed turn-based RPGs. I literally told you guys how that was my favorite genre when I was younger. I never enjoyed
Yeah, but that was like
the
50 years ago.
RTS. I've never enjoyed even when I was younger. I
It's
never
not
enjoyed
RTS, bro.
the turn-based RTS stuff is something I've never enjoyed. So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, you might enjoy this one though.
No, I won't. I wouldn't.
I think you will.
I absolutely wouldn't. I know I wouldn't.
See, Cog, this is what I have to deal with.
I feel your pain,
Dude,
brother.
do you know Jez didn't know what Outrun is?
Oh, that's a classic.
He had no idea what it was.
Nobody's
that's a
fucking
classic.
heard
was-
about Run. You're making shit up.
Jazz, you take your Sega card right now.
Jez didn't know what Outrun was.
I'm surprised that one slipped his
shit
radar.
up, man. It's like
Wow.
it's got like it didn't have a game for like 15 years or something. You expect me to know this like random ass game no one's heard of?
I'm surprised because I guess maybe it wasn't. I'm surprised it should have been huge in the UK. That was a
Never heard of it.
classic, man.
Never
It was
heard of
known. The main thing it was known for, obviously, the convertible, the guy with the girl, and the music. The music, it had 3 classic tracks that are iconic, and the main one being Magical Sound Shower. So it was an arcade hit that was a quick, easy port for Master System, which wasn't that great on the Master System. But when it came to Genesis, it was pretty much more arcade perfect. I'm surprised that one slipped through. Yeah, that was a big one. Like it was around the time of that Space Harrier, Shinobi, like classic Sega.
According to Wikipedia, it wasn't released in the UK.
Okay, that makes sense. That's fair then. Okay. Wow.
It was published in the EU. Oh, I suppose the UK was in the EU back then. But it was published by US Gold, not Sega.
Interesting.
This must be a distribution. Oh, never mind. Outrun was the fastest selling computer game in the UK that year. Never mind. Oh, 1987. I was 1 year old, man. I was 1 year old.
It was the hottest thing moving. You're supposed to know.
How the fuck am I supposed to? All right, I'm looking at some of the other games now. There's Outrun 2019, launched in 1993. I was 6 years old. Outrun 2006, launched in 2006. I ain't gonna play fucking 2006 random ass racing game. Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. Outrun 2006 was released on Xbox, PS2, and PS Portable. It had
In
Xbox
fairness,
Live
the
support.
series did get stronger.
Yeah, like how am I supposed to know about this fucking game? It was big in the 80s, man.
Yes.
When you guys were like, you guys were already in your 20s by then.
We were old Jazz. You gotta shame us, damn it.
Well,
he's right though. It's a 80s classic. Facts.
I was tiny. Well, relatively tiny. I was pretty chunky, baby. But Cognito, you've got a hard out, right?
Yeah, he's got a hard out. So I figured we'd get him out on this question, Jez.
All right, what you got?
Summer Showcase. What are you expecting? What do you want? What do you want to see? What do we have to see? What would be a disappointment if we didn't see it? What are shoo-ins? Like,
is this one
what do you
crucial for Xbox's survival?
Yeah, every single year they have to nail it this year or else. Even though the last 2 have been
phenomenal.
So, what are you thinking? I know we're almost at the end of beginning of April or end of April, beginning of May. Got about another month to go, but what do you want to see? What do you need to see? What would be a disappointment if it wasn't there?
I like this. Okay, so what what I want to see is I want to see the studios have been a little quiet. And for
Mm,
me, my focus is primarily on Double Fine. Mr.
okay.
Shaker, what are you doing? I need to know. It's like we got we got a Psychonauts too, but since you've been part of the family, we need to see what you've been working on. I think
It's
it's
been a
time.
while. It's been 4
It's
years
been a
since
while,
Psychonauts
bro.
2, so
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel it's Xbox has so many games to showcase and probably so many unannounced things that we're not even ready for. But I want to know about the Xbox Studio family that hasn't shown their homework yet. And that's one of them. And then I think number two, I think Jazz, me and you share this. As far as we're big State of Decay fans, you know, the thought process is probably next year. But if they want to, give us a little teaser as far as where they've been, that would be cool. I'm trying to think. As far as me selfishly, what I need, so for my personal ego, so I don't get attacked on LSM, is I need my Final Fantasy now.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been wrong every
Mhm.
single
Man,
showcase.
if Final Fantasy doesn't show up, people be coming for Jez. That whole slate, huh, Jez?
I,
Liar.
bro, I need because where it hurt, even though I know it's in my opinion it's definitely coming, was the fact that they switched to, reveal they
Yeah.
announced it there. So in my mind, this has got to be Square saying, hey, in reservation or Xbox in reservation for our showcase, that's where we want to do it.
What what
Nintendo's, yeah, got
what if remember how we were like Oblivion?
it.
We were like, why would you not shadow drop it at the showcase, right?
Hmm.
What if there's a plan for a shadow drop at the showcase?
That's even bigger.
And it was Final Fantasy 16. So they had to move Oblivion to an earlier month
Interesting.
because, you know, Final Fantasy 16 is planned
Is
to
this is
shadow
this
drop
another
then.
one of your Randall predictions?
Ooh.
No, I mean, no, not really. Outside of like, keep on hearing that the Final Fantasy games are still coming,
Mhm,
and there's one's already announced for the Switch for the remake,
mhm.
and you keep on hearing like Nate the Hate said, they're all three of them are coming. So I'm just like, well, you wouldn't do two shadow drops at once. And originally Oblivion was supposed to be in June, and then suddenly it got moved to April. And I'm like, well, what if you're planning on doing a shadow drop? And it's because Final Fantasy 16 is a shadow drop.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
just throwing it out there. You know what I
no, I
mean?
hear what you're saying. 7 to
Throwing
me
out a
remake
very,
is
very specific
a very
prediction.
specific.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah, I agree.
specific. It's
It's
not
very
It's
specific
specific.
pretty
at all.
specific. I think
No, it's not.
I think it's the most
Very, very insider like.
yeah, it is.
Not at
Yeah.
all.
I think it's the most specific prediction I've ever heard in my life.
I just want it to get to be right, so Jez doesn't get any more hate on that because he said the whole slate's coming. So I
I'm,
want the games to all come, so nobody goes at my boy anymore. You know what I mean?
I'm used to the hate, man. Bring it on. I will say
Yeah.
this: I asked someone about that, and
Ooh.
their source and their response was,
Mhm.
"Let it play out."
Let it
Mm.
play out. Okay. So
Okay,
that's what
okay.
what would be a disappointment if you didn't see if it wasn't there for you?
What would be a disappointment? There's not too. I'm gonna be honest. Like, there's not too much based on what we know that I would be like upset. Like, man, this wasn't here because we
Or do
literally.
you think
Yeah,
there's a game that needs to be there considering how long it's been from announcement to like you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
does Everwild have to be there? Does Contraband have to be there? You know what I mean? Like games that have been it's been a long time.
Yeah, I feel Rare is under more of that pressure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But selfishly, I don't. Not until I know what Everwild is. It's just like it's still kind of like yeah, I saw that that little visual trailer, the little seance of what the hell they was doing. The art style looked cool, but I didn't know what the hell was going on, and then it disappeared for years, right? So yeah, they're up based on the fact that we know the success of Sea of Thieves for sure, but we want to know what else you guys are working on. I think that's been the only criticism of Rare, even though Sea of Thieves have been an overwhelming success, right? But I'm in this weird pocket, man. Like Xbox has been knocking it out the park on showcases. There's such a plethora of. Okay, I know one. I got one. If there is no movement on any of the ABK things remaining,
Mm.
that would be a little disappointing because look, I get it. It's a huge undertaking. I understand. I've spoken to many people inside. And they're like, "Hey, Cog, it's like it's more than just flipping a switch. It's from a security standpoint. There's a lot of things that, when you're merging different publishers and different corporations into one unified, kind of system with Xbox, the way Xbox does things from a security standpoint is much more complex. The infrastructure is more deep. They have to get everyone else up to that standard. So these are part of the, the challenges when you acquire someone as big as ABK. But, to me, it's just like, it's been what, how long has this acquisition been now?
October 2023 to
Wow.
May 2025.
Yeah, and I think it's time for at least the back compat push to get going. Even if it's we know about obviously the Tony Hawk, but there's so many classic franchises that at least if they could start the drip feed of implementing them into Game Pass and the service, I think that would be huge for me. I would be disappointed if there's no movement on that. And then I would say the last thing, as far as like me selfishly, you know, the handheld, because like Jez, I'm such a handheld guy. I'm a person. I'm always on the go. I'm always moving. I would love to see what a world looks like with an Xbox branded device that kind of operates with a true interface, a UI that is console centric. That, I mean, if you got to copy Steam Deck's homework, damn it, copy the homework. Whatever you got to do to make that interface clean and make it operate and feel like it's an Xbox console that just happens to play these other games, and it's smooth and it's able to nail the price point. I think that'll be a nice shot in the arm. And I get it, Rand. Yes, it's not going to be a direct competitor to the Switch. I don't expect it to, outsell the Switch in any capacity, but it's an intriguing option and just another endpoint for people who are interested in something like that to be able to access it. I think that's the strategy. Get the tendrils out to all these different endpoints. People access their ecosystem however they want to access it, and at the end of the day, they financially benefit. So that's for me. Those are my little selfish ones.
Okay. All right.
Mega
Are you going to be in
based.
Are you going to be in LA this year then?
Yes, sir. I will be out there in LA.
Jez, you going to be in LA this year?
Nope, I am not going to LA
I
because
don't
I
get my
don't
hug.
want
I
to
don't get my
deal
I
treat.
don't
with ICE, baby.
I don't believe Jez.
Oh.
I don't believe him.
Nah,
He said that the last 2 years he wasn't going, and then suddenly
Dude.
he was going.
They weren't
Mhm.
deporting Europeans just for visiting America then. I ain't going over there for at least the next 4 years.
I feel you, bro. I feel you. Different
So,
times right now, right?
yeah, it is
times.
different times. But I will be at Gamescom. I've already booked my hotels and all that stuff. So
Jealous.
if you're heading out there, Cog.
Are you going? Well, Cog's going to be at the Tokyo Game Show, so you got to go out to
Yeah.
that.
No, but
So
Cog, all you need to do is do
what I need to
another
Mhm.
fundraiser.
Do another Glizzy.
Another Glizzy, another Sailor Moon kind of outfit. Because I missed the first one, so I'll drop some big bucks if you do another one.
The road to Gamescom. Oh
Yeah, road to
god,
Game, do it, man, do it.
that would be funny. I've suffered enough, Chance. I've suffered enough.
Well, I think on that note, I think we should let
Yes.
Cognito get out of here. Lord Cognito, can you let the people of the XB2 universe know exactly where to find you on the internet? Of course, these links are also in the description.
Absolutely. Before I do that, man, I absolutely love you too. You guys are my favorite. Always get a chance to try to listen to you guys on the road as much as I can. I love the banter, the foolishness, but also the knowledge and the nuance. And keep doing what you guys do. Xbox 2 has always been one of my favorite podcasts, and I love what you guys bring. You're both good friends, good people. So it's always an honor to be in the realm of the Xbox 2+1. As I remember listening to you guys way back before I even, was really serious about podcasts. Because we kind of came up together, but you guys are always, top notch. So I want to give you your flowers while you're here. So salute to
Thank
you
you
too.
for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for me, obviously on Twitter, everyone knows me, or X, whatever they call it. Still Twitter to me, I don't care. At Lord Cognito. And I'm also on Blue Sky now. So go check me out there, Lord Cognito there. And every Sunday is the Lord's Day, Iron Lords Podcast, 1 p.m. Eastern, where you can watch us dress up as idiots and get to Tokyo show and talk about the latest topics. And shout out to my brothers, Lord Addict, Lord King, Lord Solve. And then, of course, if you want a more Xbox-centric podcast, shout out to my amazing co-host, Mr. Matty Plays, and the Defining Duke that we do there on Last Stand Media, on Last Stand Media's Patreon. If you want it on free feeds, go check out the Last Stand Media YouTube, which releases on Sundays a little later, and you can still get the news there. And yeah, man, shout out to my other calls, Ebontis and Ty Guy Travis. Bungie's kind of been making us not podcast much, but if you can listen to us there on Ebontis channel, we get the latest on marathon news. We moved it back to a monthly now because it's just been so quiet in the Bungie, engagement era. But we still have love for the company and see what they do. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. But I really enjoyed my time. There's a lot of fun, y'all.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. So yeah, that was
Out.
XB2 episode 29. You can hear this first on Patreon. And so thanks to everyone who joined us for the live version. And if you listen to this later on Spotify, we appreciate you as well. All podcasts sponsored by Surfshark VPN. So if you want to get 86% off a 2-year plan, check out the link in the description there as well. It's a really great deal. Log-free VPN across all your devices. And we are out of here. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you on Friday.